Welcome to the podcast, and this one is with Zubair and Robin. They are a couple of Desi blokes who run Coffee Snobs. Now, I came across them on social media, and I just messaged them because I just thought, this is great. This is great that you've just got a couple of guys, because the videos that they posted on social media was them starting out their journey into the craftsmanship of coffee and had their love for coffee and their passion for coffee. And I thought it was just seeing a couple of, Asian blokes, British Asian blokes loving coffee that much. And I guess it's so easy to stereotype. It's so easy to say that, oh, Asian blokes or blokes in general, they're all into this or they're all into that. And I thought, in our culture, tea forms such a big part of it. And here's these guys going out on a limb for their love for coffee. And it also happens that I really do love coffee. I love it even when I'm just walking along the street and I see a new little quirky coffee place. I'll dive in just to check it out, have a little espresso. I've always loved coffee from my radio days. It's the thing that gave me my little zing in the morning. So I don't know too much about it. I don't know about the beans and the process and the roasting. So I get a bit of that information from these guys in this podcast that you're about to hear. But also, I guess I wanted to share their passion. I want to share that here are two people doing what they love. And if there's one thing I think we can all take away from this conversation, is just to follow your dream, is to do the things that you love. Life is short. If COVID and lockdown and the way the world's going has taught us anything, it's that we should all just be doing the things that we love. So here are the Coffee Snobs, Zubair and Robin, doing what they love, which is making great coffee. Enjoy.
Coffee Snobs, Zubair, Robin, welcome. It's okay to call you snobs. It's okay. Is that an all right way to introduce you? Here are a couple of snobs, everybody.
Thanks, Tommy. It's an absolute pleasure for us to be here. We're absolutely overwhelmed with all the love and support we've been getting from people like yourselves. But just to your point about being called a snob, I think probably about 20 years ago is probably not something that you wanted to be called. But do you know what? Now it's okay to be a coffee snob. So yeah, bring it on.
Yeah, it's good. And just to kind of recap really, firstly, for anyone who's wondering where this all came about. And I saw your post. I think, like how Instagram, the algorithms and all that just suggest things you might be interested in. And it came up, Coffee Snobs, and for some reason, and I clicked on it, and I saw your video. I saw the pair of you, Zubair, talking, and Robin, you were there as well, kind of talking about your love for coffee and how you started this coffee brand up called Coffee Snobs. And I'll be honest, the first thing that came to my mind was fair play, because I thought coffee and Asians don't normally go hand in hand. And that's not me stereotyping. That's not me congratulating you for even just liking coffee. Oh, well done, brown men. You enjoy coffee. I'm not trying to patronize you by saying that. But I'm saying, oh my God, I suddenly thought, we are so, as a race of people, culturally, historically associated with tea, that I thought, oh, look, here are a couple of guys not only saying we love coffee, but we are the snobs of coffee. We are the kings of coffee. Robin, you must feel to some extent you're breaking new ground here.
Well, yeah, I guess. I mean, we are kind of breaking new ground, but because I've been a coffee fan for a very long time. I mean, since my dad's allowed me to have coffee, I've always been around it. So for me, it's just a natural progression. And when I met Zubair back at university, we were two Asian guys. I was considered a bit of a coconut.
We were both coconuts.
We both were. And I guess that's how we kind of got to know one another. It's like two Asian guys. We didn't fully fit in with the other Asian lads at university, but we had kind of something in common. And then we realized we both love coffee. So yeah, for me personally, it's just a natural progression. But yeah, tea has been the thing for Asian people, stereotypically. But I guess because of my upbringing, the environment I grew up in, for me, it's not so unusual that, the coffee side of things.
But the brewing of a cup of tea in a Desi household is an art form, and everyone's got their method and the way they layer the long and the this and the lechis and whatever, the cardamom, all those things that are going into their cups of tea. So where does that how does that kind of translate into your world, Zubair? Like, where does that craft element of coffee come in? And it's sorry, I still find it funny. Couple of young lads at university, like, hey man, what are you into? I really like coffee. Like,
Yeah,
oh, you okay? No, the cool
No,
kids.
no,
Yeah.
no. I think you've absolutely encapsulated us pretty much. I mean, we've always been a little bit different anyway. Even growing up, we were kind of oddballs, and I don't think it was necessarily the coconut in us. It was just that we were just had a different kind of thought process and everything. You know, there's got to be better, 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 better. And I think part of that comes from your upbringing about wanting to see more of the world, wanting to live more of the world. But like Robin, my parents indulged me in my coffee obsession as opposed to me getting on a different track and perhaps getting in with wrong crowds. So I think it was part of, let's do something that's safe and sensible. And I was a bit of a loner, so it's okay. At least he's doing something that we can keep an eye on and control rather than get out and, you know, and do some not so good stuff. But just back to Robin's point of university, I think we were the guys that never got picked for the football team. We were better at football than we were at cricket. And, you know, those late nights of studying and leaving everything to the last moment, and Robin still leaves everything to the last moment.
Yeah.
It was those instant coffees. And I think that's kind of what brought us together. It wasn't so much the working together late night on an assignment. It was actually, it's coffee that's bringing us together. And we both hated what we were drinking. And we made kind of like a commitment to each other that if we could ever do something, and if we could dream the dream and live the dream, then we should be doing something about changing this. And we've always had this kind of disruptive mentality. But I think back sort of the time that we were growing up and we were working in our sort of professional circles, being disruptive was considered being a troublemaker. So we told the line. We tried a couple of iterations of where we are right now. And I think now it's okay to be disruptive. And I think this whole brewing method and stuff like that, making chai is an art and a science in itself anyway. You've got to get the ratios of the elaichi and the long, like you say, right. And coffee's very much like that. It's a craft. So we've been experimenting for ages, and we've known each other 30 years now. And we've, even just this last year during the pandemic, we've been trying to innovate with different taste profiles. So they're not necessarily flavors. How can we get something that our Asian friends and family can really get into as a drink without actually putting milk in? Because that's the crux of it. I mean, coffee needs to be unadulterated in its purest form. So it's a bit of a mission, but we are obsessed. We're absolutely crazy. I think our loved ones have just given up now and said, you know what, that's fine, just leave them to it. And yeah, self-proclaimed snobs, but proud of it too.
Yeah, and I love it. So again, the reason why I'm just thinking about, there's so many things you've touched upon there, but not only disruption, but also the kind of, it's almost like, I find it interesting the fact that your parents introduced you to it to keep you off of something else, get you into the wrong crowd, like trying to get this, hey, but stay away from the hot chocolate crowd. Make sure you don't fall into those guys. You know what those guys are like with all the sugar in their system. They're wired. But it's no, but like it's just they're gonna get that. But also the fact that your parents gave you sort of a fix of something, thinking, well, at least it's channeling towards something that we can kind of manage. Let's go with it rather than something else. No, that's kind of great. And like, or you think of like, you know, me, my typical Punjabi, you know, household that, you know, a dad might sit down with his son with a bottle of whiskey or whatever. Yours is going, what? This is Nescafe. I don't, you know, like sit here with me. Let me introduce, you know, or let me sit you down with a Zira or whatever it is. But as actually, it's very fitting that we're talking today, because today, January the 10th, it's 2 years since I gave up alcohol. So exactly today. And that's one of the, thank you very much. And not had a drop for 2 years. I've lost a lot of weight, but also I'm training, and you want to get that little zing before you train. So I have espressos, and that's where it started. And actually it started from the breakfast show. In the morning, I'd have an espresso because I didn't want to sit with a coffee for a long time. I wanted the fix. And espressos did the job to the extent that people often thought I was on something. I was like, no, it's just the coffee. It's just, you know, like a little zing in the morning and I'm good. So that's where my love for coffee came from, because I felt like it fueled me. It fuels me for training. It fuels me for talking and going about my day. And I've now realized the more you drink kind of different coffees, you can taste differences. You can taste different bitterness. I don't know. I'm not a connoisseur. Like I was never a connoisseur with drink, but it was nice to see you guys have a passion for this thing, which is now in my life all the time because I don't drink, and it's the one fix of something sort of naughty. I don't really do chocolate. I don't really do dessert. So, but your kind of craftsmanship. So you've taken it from loving coffee and not getting the coffee you really want, I suppose, out and about, and then seeing a gap in that, and then going off. I mean, that's serious. That's not just like we love coffee. That's we love coffee and we want to change the coffee world, Robin. You know, like we want to, you know, that's almost like a calling in life, isn't it? Robin, have I got you? Yeah. Oh, Robin, you back? You there?
I'm back. It went on the start. I couldn't hear you.
Exactly.
I saw you moving, but I couldn't hear you.
I was miming it for you. That's what it was.
You were. No. I was thinking, oh, wow.
I was saying, I said, this is almost like for you to take that from a passion for coffee to actually start making it. And the fact that you found Zubair in that process, it's like a movie. It's almost like a calling in life rather than.
It was meant to be. It was meant to be.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it. Look, we met at university. We've gone through lots in life. We've done lots of different things. And in that journey from graduating, I've had a career in the city. I've been a property developer. I've been doing all sorts of various things. But only over the last couple of years or so have we suddenly realized that everything that we've done has brought us here. And what we're doing right now, of everything that I've done, and talking for myself here, this is the point where I'm really enjoying what I'm doing, you know? So I've had to go through the process. I've had to go through the journey. Blessed that my journey hasn't been that difficult. For some people, it's tough. It's really tough. But I am where I am. And right now, if someone asks me, so far in life, what do I enjoy doing the most? And the biggest thing of all is working on this coffee business, coming up with coffee profiles with my best friend. That's it. You know?
Yeah, I'd echo that. And I think, Tommy, when you're with us, you'll see that energy as well. And I think, Robin talked about his background. I've worked in the UN and government and stuff, and I've been blessed enough to travel around the world. And the one thing that both of us have found is that coffee is this enabler. It kind of neutralizes or diffuses any situation. It's the new peace pipe. And we've been on a bit of a mission, if you want to call it that. But we've structured the whole of our kind of world around coffee. So when we meet friends, it's over coffee. When we're inviting people over for dinner and stuff, there's always coffee. And obviously, like Robin says, we are where we are as a result of all the experiences we've had. But I think somewhere along the line, we thought we've got to do more than just run a business. We've got to give back, but in a different way. Again, going back to that disruption mindset. So we've structured everything that we've done about doing good through coffee. So whether that's product, service, delivery, engagement, outreach, or just having those coffee moments. And like Robin says, I think, there's not a day that goes by that we don't have a cup of coffee. There's not a day that goes by that we don't speak. And someone asked us just a few weeks ago, we were at a corporate event and we're speaking to one of the guys there. And I said, do you guys not get tired? And I said, do you know what? Rob and I are living the dream. He said, what do you mean? But you had a career in so-and-so. I said, yeah, I love all of that. And I still, do. But I get to have coffee with my best friend every single day. We get to talk about the stuff that we're truly obsessed about. Other people are obsessed about football and stuff like that. And I can't think of any better place to be in, where we're working together, we're developing new ideas. There's a lot of push and pull as well. So it's not always like we agree on everything. But we are literally, I feel, living the dream. And, to anyone that is listening to this, I'd say just follow that dream. There's no harm. There's no you shouldn't do, or there's never a right time. I mean, it took us, 30 years almost to get to this point. And it took us many knocks and many iterations. But I think, 3 years ago, when all of our family said, stop talking about it, just get on and do it. And you know, we had so much love around us, and so I think there's a lesson in there as well for people listening in.
Tell me what you taste, okay? Because some people will be listening to this and going, huh? These guys are upset. This is no different from an addiction. The way they're talking about it. Oh, you know, it's like you hear about guys that go and, like I said, do whiskey or do anything else, or traveling obsessed or anything else. What do you get from your sip of coffee when you're holding that cup, or what was it that first? You know, why is that so much more elevated in you?
Yeah, so I think it's not about you can taste more or better. I mean, we all have a palate, right? And some people's palates are a little bit more pronounced, so they might taste things differently. But I think coffee's more than just sipping a hot beverage. Coffee's an experience. And, you know, you don't just taste coffee, you smell coffee, you experience coffee, you know, it activates all of your senses. But also our taste palette, so, you know, the roof of our mouth and our tongue has been burdened with so many different flavors of what's out there. And I'm not just saying, you know, bad food or bad drink, just the wrong type of coffee. And I'm not disrespecting any brands out there, because we're all part of the ecosystem. But your palate memory has been set to accept something that's effectively burnt coffee. So when you progress from that or instant coffee, the jars that most people have in their cupboard, you have to train your palate, you have to train your memory and say that actually I need to taste everything that my taste buds and my mouth and my tongue and all the receptors and my nose and my ears and everything. So you almost like have to press zero. So when we talk about taste profiles, we're actually trying to taste. It's almost like, and this is a test or something I would recommend everybody to do the next time they have a better cup of coffee, is just close your eyes for a moment, smell the coffee, let everything sort of permeate all across your senses, and then take a small sip and just rest it in your mouth, you know, just for a second or two, and then swallow and then take another sip. And I'm telling you, that experience, you're going to taste things that you've never tasted before. And I don't know, I mean, I don't want to push you back onto the world of drink, but you may remember from how you drink, you know, different things, different flavor, different profiles. So so coffee's got a similar kind of origin in terms of, I guess, winemaking, although the process is different. Here it's the bean rather than the fruit. But oh my gosh, I mean, you can just taste so many different profiles. And when you get into that, you're like, I can taste the chocolate notes, I can taste the fruity notes, I can taste the citrus, I can taste the wood, I can taste the smokiness. And then the world is your ocean. You know, it's like, absolutely, you just delve deep into it. And Robin and I are working on a new blend at the moment, and we're trying to like, okay, what can we do that's a little bit different? It's a little bit out there. Yeah, we're talking about gooseberries and blackberries and all that kind of stuff, but you won't taste that, but you'll sense it. And that's the key thing. You're sensing all of that flavor profile.
And it's so similar to the way you describe it is so similar to the I suppose the craftsmanship that goes into winemaking or even cheese making or something like that. If I can think of something else other than alcohol, but it again, okay, talk me through, Robin, then the process, because I mean, again, a lot of us will be quite naive to it. I know obviously about the bean, but I know very little about how regions vary, and you know how South America beans may be different from an African coffee bean, and also, you know, that where does that flavor process come from? Because I know with wine, for example, you know, it's aged in barrels, and you know certain flavors and come from the wood and various other things. What's the Coffee Snob bean? Where is yours from, and how do you go about it? But if you're working on different flavors, are you kind of picking on products from different parts of the world then?
Zubair, I mean, Zubair would be best to describe this part. I love him when he describes it. I just sit there listening. Wow.
No, the reason is because I'm just obsessed about that particular element, and you know, we always have fights. If we have fights, it's about that. So we source our beans from all over the world. So you obviously got the Africas, you've got the Americas. We're all about sustainability. We're really big on that, and that's kind of our background as well. So, you know, conversation for another day. But different types of bean have different types of inherent qualities. So beans from Africa, or the cherry from Africa, will be a little bit more acidic. So it lends itself better to the notes and profiles that we refer to as citrusy or fruity. Whereas the bean from the Americas will be more chocolatey or roasty. You know, they're the kind of things that you might be familiar with. And it's because the elevation. So the bean is actually the seed within a cherry, and the cherry is grown on a bush, and the bush is part of a bigger plant, and it's grown on the ground, right? So you've got different elevations like you would with tea. So the closer to the ground it is, the more acidic it's going to be, because there's natural bugs would go to it. So there's natural pesticides in the plant. So that's the sciencey bit. When we talk about roasting, there's a scale of 0 to 13. So the easiest way I can describe it is think about when you're toasting bread. So you've got a dial on there, 0 to 5, right? So most people put it in and they'll have it on 3, and it'll come out a little bit brown, but it's not quite toasty enough. They'll turn the dial up to 5 and it'll come out charred, and they'll scrape some off and then put jam on and then eat it. So that's number 13 in the coffee world. That's what you get in the big commercial brands where you love to sit down and, you know, the green one and the red one. What artisan roasters try to do, which are us and independent roasters and small batch roasters, is that we try and work from 7 to 10. So 7 is basically everything from 0, I mean, that's the cherry, and 7 is the point where you get something called first crack. So if you think of popcorn popping in the oven or in the microwave, it goes pop. That's the point where you've roasted the first element of the bean, and the essential oils are now starting to be released. So that's where you get the brownish kind of color. So it's still light brown. So we try and work from 7 to 10. Most of our coffee is 8, 8.5. And that way it's brown in color. It doesn't look dark, but it's still chocolatey color. And it's got all of the essential oils. And then when you extract your coffee through a machine, you get this lovely little crema at the top. And that's what you see in the George Clooney adverts. So that's what we're trying to achieve, because actually that crema helps you drink the coffee, and it sort of balances everything. So just back to your point about how do we get the flavors or the profiles. So we have a roasting wheel. So it's like a clock, and it's got all the different roast components. So roasting is oxygen versus time. And it is really a science, and I'd love to bring you into a roasting one day so you can have a go yourself. And we've got a small one that we have at home as well. And basically we're saying, okay, so we want to go chocolatey and toasty, almondy. So we want some of the kind of kick that you get from dark chocolate, but we also want it to be creamy and light, so it's not too bitter. So we're going to go for the creamy notes that you get from macadamia nuts or almonds. But we also want it to taste a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for? Spicy. So we may go for peppery notes. So we know on our roasting wheel, so if you look at a clock, we're going in that direction. So we're going to go that way. And what we try and do is roast it. So you've got to get the time and the oxygen right. So it's a bit of a process, and you work out, okay, so if I roast it for 6 minutes and 32.1 seconds, at this temperature, I'm going to get those profiles. And that's basically it. So
wow.
It's not dissimilar to perfumers who are making, your kind of like sprays and perfumes. And what artisan coffee or small batch coffee is, it's the eau de parfum of the perfume world, and everything else that you get on the commercial high street is the eau de toilette. So it's a real process, but I mean, you've got to see it to believe it, and we can do so much. I mean, we had one client who's equally obsessed like us, and he said, I don't want your everyday coffee. I want you to design a coffee for me. So it's a case of spend 2 hours on a consultation, and then this is how I drink my coffee. This is how I have my food. This is my daily routine. And we basically designed a coffee for him, and it was absolutely amazing. I mean, we'd love to do that all the time, right? But that doesn't pay the bills. It really is a science.
Yeah. And talking about paying the bills, Robin, I'm going to bring you in on this one then, because it's like, say, you're an ex-property guy, and we know, property is about results. You do something, it's going to be cost effective, what the return is going to be on either be it rentals or a development or something like that. But here is a passion. You're into passion territory. where there may not be any money made for a bit, or I don't need to get into how things are going right now, but at the moment, this is a passion and a hobby and something that you've obviously thrown a lot of money, time, and investment into. How do you make this love and this craft into a business? Where how does this and is Coffee Snobs going to take over the world? Is that the plan? Is it global domination?
That's my plan, and I think that's
right.
And we'd love to be, one day recognized all over the world, but for the right reasons. Look, here's the thing: ours is all about small batch roasted coffee, right? And think about this: when your mum cooks food at home, she's cooking normal kitchen using small pots, and the food, when it comes out, it tastes amazing. It's made with love. You can tell. Whereas if you go to a buffet restaurant, it's not the same. It's just not the same.
No.
So here's the challenge. Okay, I want us to be successful, and we are. We're growing. Early days, but we're growing, and we're growing just the way we want to grow. But I never want to get to a stage where our coffee loses that love. When it becomes mass product. And Coffee Snobs, it's come about from the fact that we couldn't find that coffee that's been made with love, And
tell him how many coffees we had before we got it right.
We count it. I think it's just over 7,125 now cups of coffee that we've had.
Over the last 30 years.
We're well traveled. We've been around the world. Those coffees are not just us together. Individually, different places we've been to. That's not including the coffee that we have at home, though. So, and that's it, really. It's about making sure that we want to grow, but we never want to be at a stage where our coffee is just mass product coffee.
What's the what are the barriers like in this game, though? Because I'd imagine it's like with anything which is so established, and there is so much money in coffee now, and coffee is cool, as we're seeing everywhere. With your barista kind of stuff, and I live in East London. Lots of trendy guys with beards serving up cool coffee, and they all look a bit buff now. The coffee barista is almost like your sexy barman from the 80s, 90s. Doing the cocktails. It's a look, it's a game, it's a scene, it's a whole thing. What's it like? What's it been like for you guys? Just trying to get into the action, because I imagine it'll be quite closed to some extent.
Yeah, we've had challenges along the way, and we still do. When we started properly, when I say properly, when we had our product on our website up and running, and you could buy the product rather than just have. So we initially started to do coffee experiences and coffee tasting sessions. So we would go out to businesses or to corporate events, and we'd do pop-ups and all that kind of stuff. We weren't taken seriously, and I think it wasn't because the coffee wasn't to that standard. We weren't taken seriously, perhaps because it was like, hang on, Robin, you came from that background, Zubair, you came from that background, how can you switch? But we get it because we know you, and we know how crazy you guys have been about this particular thing over the number of years we've known you. So that helped. But we've had to learn everything kind of on the job as well. So, we've come from different backgrounds, but like Robin said, everything that we know about business and corporate life and all that kind of stuff has helped us to do learning on the job, but also, how to navigate that space. We went in with eyes wide open as entrepreneurs that, it's not going to be an overnighter. It's going to take time. We've got to build not just our business structure and operations, but our following. We've got to get the product right. And we've got to also have a range of products. There's got to be a story behind it, a narrative. There's also got to be the building of the brand. And it won't be the first iteration. So we're in version 2 of what our brand looks like and feels and packaging. And we're working on version 3. So we knew there would be challenges. And some of the challenges we've had have been accessing finance, basically, because as entrepreneurs, you know how this works, right? So for us to grow and scale, there's always that issue of we know it's the right time, but how do you access finance? And when you go to a traditional bank, they say, well, what experience have you got? The usual kind of thing. I'm saying, well, it's not rocket science, right? It's this and it's this and it's that. And you know what the margins are because everyone else is doing it. So that's been one challenge, but we're trying to navigate that. And I think we're on the right trajectory. We have had challenges where we felt the pressure of competition. But Robin and I have a very optimistic view of the world, and we always see the light at the end of the tunnel. That's just how we are, and that's how we love to look at life, although we do have our dips. So, we are human, we're not robots. And the reason why I mention that is that we're the new kids on the block, and sometimes other people don't like that. We're disruptive. We're talking about what we're basically saying to consumers or to people is that you deserve better coffee. You don't have to get it from us. You can get it from anywhere, but you should be demanding better in absolutely every aspect. So quality, taste, profile, packaging, look, feel, experience, and value. And there are some companies that don't like that, right? Because there's a lot of margin in coffee. So we've already had a little bit of an issue just back in November. We won't go into it in detail, but something for our memoirs, perhaps. Where we felt the pressure from some competitors being pushed towards us, so we've had to adjust. But I think the advantage of us being smaller, certainly at the moment, is that we're more agile. So we're able to sort of stop, turn around, or pause, reflect, pivot.
Exactly.
So that's our strength. But the rest of the challenges are everything that everyone else would be. How do you move forward? What do you do next? Do you second guess yourself? But really, it's a case of having conversations like these and saying, well, do you know what? At the end of the day, it's all about a great product with a great story and great value. And I think if you've got that formula right, then everything else should be manageable and workable.
Definitely. Guys, this is brilliant. I think I'm super proud of you. I'm super proud of anyone who's following their dream, and I think you're absolutely doing that. Go smash it. I want to see Coffee Snobs everywhere. I'm in. I'm a fan already, and I'll be following the journey. Good luck with everything. Keep doing what you're doing, and we'll catch you real soon. Thank you, Robin. Thank you, Zubair.
Thank you. All the best.
Thanks, Tommy.
I heard, genuinely, this is just as a fact, I heard that if you hit subscribe to this podcast now, if you have subscribed on Apple or on Spotify or on JioSaavn or wherever you are listening right now, if you are subscribing and getting that on a regular, which means you get the little notification when the new episode comes out. Fact. This is a fact. Don't tell no one else's. If you hit subscribe, you can eat as many jalebis as you want and you will never put on weight. I know. I don't understand the logic. It makes no sense to me. I mean, how's a podcast relate to the DNA way in which your body breaks down jalebi sugar stuff running through your cell? I don't understand, but what I do know, it's a little cheat to life. So if you like jalebis, then you should hit subscribe to this podcast. Oh, and follow us on social media too. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Follow us, eat jalebis, be happy.